Welcome back to another episode of the What We're Watching podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Jenny, and today we're talking about Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde.
Yay, a sequel. Finally.
Finally, a sequel. A sequel I haven't seen.
This is exciting. I'm so happy we're talking about this. It's the perfect week to talk about this for two reasons. The first is because this week is 4th of July, so happy 4th of July. I feel like it's only appropriate that we talk about this movie this week.
Completely agree.
And this is our 50th episode.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that.
Isn't that so exciting? And Legally Blonde was one of our first episodes, so it feels right that we're revisiting for episode 50.
Yay. Thank you guys so much for listening and for being here. We hoped that we would get to episode 50, but we didn't know what was going to happen, so thanks.
And here we are, yeah. No chance of slowing down anytime soon.
No, absolutely not. And if you've been enjoying the podcast so far, please leave us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts. It means a lot to us.
Okay, so the logline for this movie is, Elle Woods journeys to Washington, D.C. to have her say about animal rights, but is ignored by every politician she encounters and quickly learns that the White House can be even tougher to navigate than the Ivy League. Finally, Elle makes the acquaintance of sympathetic Representative Victoria Rudd, played by Sally Field, who helps the young lawyer get her foot in the door of Congress. Unfortunately, Elle still has to convince the entire legislature to hear her out. I can't wait to hear your thoughts about this movie. As somebody who I feel like is not a typical sequel watcher, is that because you don't like sequels normally, or just because you like the first one and there's just always a lot to watch, so you just don't ever go back?
I think a little bit of both. I think sometimes I'm worried that the sequel is going to disappoint me, especially if the first one was really good.
Fair.
And then I think other times I just never get around to the sequel of something. I don't know why.
Yeah, both fair. I think you're in a lot of good company there. I think a lot of people feel that way.
And this one was unhinged. I'm very curious. Did you see this when it came out? Like, is this up there with Legally Blonde for you?
I think I saw this when it came out, or I at least saw it early on in my life, like definitely in high school, and I loved it growing up. Watching it again, I agree. It's a little silly. It's like a little silly and unhinged and fun and girly and cute, and a little less like realistic and inspiring as I remember it being. I remember it being like really realistic, not really realistic, but like really hopeful and inspiring and a little less silly than I think it is actually. But I still love it.
I think the first movie is just perfect in every way, and it's really hard to compare to that, and we'll get into it, but they changed the writers. And then I feel like they were just trying to hit every check mark of the formula that made the first movie good, instead of actually trying to develop the character and the story.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a good time. I watched it twice because I needed to outline it, and I thought it was fun.
Good. I'm glad you liked it. I feel like maybe this is a character trait I'm learning about myself, where like when I like things, maybe this is because I'm anxious, I like just want more of that same thing, even if it's not great, you know? It just like makes me happy to see the same characters and the same story again. So this feels just like comforting to me, you know?
And there's something about a movie when you saw it as a kid and you liked it as a kid, you're going to like it as an adult still.
Totally.
This movie came out on July 2nd, 2003, which means that this movie just had its 21st birthday.
Wow. Happy birthday, Legally Blonde 2.
Legally Blonde 2 can legally drink.
Wow, so we're spot on doing this the 4th of July week, because that's when it came out.
I know, look at us.
It makes sense. It really does.
And this was kind of a last-minute choice, so go us. This movie did not get good reception from critics, but it was a box office success, so that's good. And like I said earlier, the duo who wrote the original Legally Blonde, Karen McCullough and Kirsten Smith, who we love, by the way, they did 10 Things I Hate About You, She's the Man, The House Bunny, many more. They didn't return to write this sequel, and I'm not sure why, but I think it would have been interesting had they been on this sequel, what they would have done differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have loved to see their version of the script.
However, they are credited with working on the new Legally Blonde 3 movie that has been rumored to come out.
Very exciting. I can't wait for that.
I don't know if we talked about this in our Legally Blonde episode, but the movie has been in the works since at least 2018, and Mindy Kaling and Dan Gore were hired to rework the script, but nothing has really moved forward on this, and I don't know if that's because there's a new project, the Legally Blonde prequel series, which is getting a ton of hype right now. Reese Witherspoon's media company, Hello Sunshine, is producing the prequel, so I just think there's more focus on that right now. It's more of a priority, maybe.
Yeah, I could see that. Although I want both. I think I had this mixed up in my head where I had imagined Mindy Kaling was working on the prequel series because she works on Never Have I Ever and The Sex Lives of College Girls. And that makes so much sense to me for a Legally Blonde prequel vibe. But the fact that she was working on the third one, I'm intrigued to talk about it. I'm excited we're going to talk about it later in the episode.
Yeah, at the end of the episode, we'll recap everything we know so far about the prequel series and maybe speculate a little bit on what we think it's going to include. So stick around for that.
Should we talk about the cast?
Let's do it. Let's talk about Reese Witherspoon, who plays Elle Woods, of course. Her first movie was Man in the Moon in 1991. Have you seen that?
No.
That movie wrecked me. That's all I remember, is it wrecked me.
Oh, I'll have to watch it.
Maybe, if you want to be emotional. Sometimes we're in that mood. Besides Legally Blonde, she's been in Cruel Intentions, Sweet Home Alabama, Walk the Line, Wild, Big Little Lies, The Morning Show, many, many more. She owns Reese's Book Club and Hello Sunshine, which is a media company that has done woman-led literary adaptations, like the movies Where the Crawdads Sing and Gone Girl, which I didn't know she did Gone Girl.
Mm-hmm.
And the show Daisy Jones and the Six, which I know you love.
That's my favorite show of all time, probably.
Of all time, really?
I think so.
Oh,
yeah.
I have to watch it.
Yeah, it's so good. And I believe she's a super reader. Like, I think she reads a book in a day or something crazy.
Can you imagine?
No, absolutely not.
Apparently, she was always a big reader and an overachiever, and her parents called her Little Type A.
Oh, I can relate to that.
I know, I was like, that sounds familiar to me. And she attended Stanford as an English major, but left to pursue acting. I had no idea.
No, I had no idea.
And isn't she a Southern girl? Isn't she from, like, Louisiana or something?
I can't remember where she's from originally, but I know that she lives, or at least has a house in Nashville.
Okay, that would make sense. She also has 3 kids, Ava, Deacon, and Tennessee. And Ava is the one who's always on Reese's Instagram and looks just like her twin.
If you guys haven't seen pictures of the two of them together, pause the episode. Look right now at Reese and Ava because it is astonishing. I mean, her and her brother Deacon also look just like their dad, Ryan Phillippe. So if you look up their dad, they also look just like him, but she especially looks just like her mom. It's wild.
I've seen people be like, how can you look simultaneously exactly like 2 different people with her? Because they say that Ava looks like her mom and her dad.
Yeah, it's wild. And I think this is just a case of Reese and her ex looking a lot alike, like many couples do.
People do want Ava to play Elle in the Legally Blonde prequel. I think she's like 24, but that's not unheard of for someone who's in their mid-20s to play a high schooler.
And she looks young, but I don't know if she's an actor.
I don't know.
I feel like I read that Reese is supposed to play Elle.
How would they do that?
I don't know. Maybe this was just fake Instagram news.
Or maybe it was for Legally Blonde 3. But that would be kind of
Maybe.
interesting if they like CGI'd her younger.
Yeah, I don't know how it would work.
Interesting. I don't know. Also, I thought this was kind of a fun fact. I think Reese was pregnant with Deacon while filming Legally Blonde 2.
Wow.
Apparently, for the first film, she was paid $1 million, but for Legally Blonde 2, she was paid $15 million.
Wow.
It's a big jump.
Big payday. That makes extra sense why she did it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like some actors and actresses will refuse to do a sequel, like Will Ferrell refused to do Elf 2.
Right.
Because he was like, I don't want to touch the original. Like, it did so well. It means a lot to a lot of people. I don't want to touch it. But then, then you have situations like this where it totally makes sense that you would want to do another one.
It's kind of interesting to me that this sequel came out only 2 years later and was such an homage to the first one. Because usually that's what happens like 10 years later, 15 years later when they do a reboot of something. But this one is like they really went hard on the references to the first one, even though it had only been 2 years. Kind of interesting.
Okay, should we talk about Sally Field, who plays Congresswoman Rudd?
Yes, she's been in everything. She's had so many awards. She's in Sybil, Forrest Gump, Steel Magnolias. She plays Aunt May in The Amazing Spider-Man, the Andrew Garfield one, and I totally forgot about that.
I think that's where I recognize her from the most. She's one of those faces for me where I'm like, I know that I know her, but I could not tell you off the top of my head what I know her from.
Yeah, same. And I felt like this went along with this episode. A lot of the people that we're going to talk about today on the cast are advocates of different causes.
I love that.
And I thought that was really fitting. So she's a big advocate for a lot of different things. She was diagnosed with osteoporosis in 2005, and she's done a lot of activism for early diagnosis through bone density scans, which I thought was pretty cool. And she's also done advocacy work for women's rights and LGBTQ plus rights. And in 2019, she was arrested while attending Jane Fonda's climate change protests in DC. That sentence is wild.
Everything about that sentence.
Jane Fonda arrested, climate change protests.
Love it.
Yeah. She had a memoir come out in 2018 called In Pieces. And I haven't read it, but I've seen the cover so many times. I think that it's a highly recommended memoir, so I'll have to read it. And then one of her sons, Peter Craig, is a screenwriter, and he co-wrote the 2 Hunger Games Mockingjay movies, The Batman with Robert Pattinson, and Top Gun Maverick.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
A talented family.
Yeah, I love when we find Hollywood families where like some of them work behind the scenes and then some of them are actors and actresses. I always think that's fun.
Yeah.
And then we have the very fabulous Regina King, who plays Grace.
We've talked about her before in our A Cinderella Story episode.
Mm-hmm.
She's an actress and director who's won many awards and was named one of Time's 100 most influential people in the world in 2019. She's from The Boondocks, Southland, The Leftovers, Watchmen, and she also directed One Night in Miami, and I think she got a lot of awards for that. She's also in Miss Congeniality too, which I still haven't seen. And like I said, A Cinderella Story. And Megan, I thought you would love this fun fact. Her parents were a special education teacher and an electrician.
Wow.
Normal family.
Not a Nepo baby.
Yay.
Love it.
She studied communications at USC before she pursued acting.
I also love that. This is the type of celebrity that I like. I like when it's relatable like this, where it's like, I grew up with normal parents with regular jobs, and then I went to school for not acting. And then later on, it like worked out for me.
Yeah. And then I was discovered at a mall.
Yeah. Isn't that the story we all want?
It is. Or like, oh yes, one day I'm just going to strike big. I'm going to be rich. It's just going to happen to me. I don't know how.
I don't know how.
It's going to take no effort on my part though.
Right.
And then this is pretty sad, but I thought it was important. Her only child, Ian Alexander Jr., recently passed away by suicide at age 26, and that was in 2022.
Wow, that's really sad.
I know. And she's since spoken out about her grief and dedicated her latest movie, Shirley, where she plays Shirley Chisholm, the first Black woman elected to Congress, to him.
Wow, I love that. Then we have Jennifer Coolidge, who plays Paulette. You guys know and love her from the first movie.
Does she not make this movie?
She does. She makes everything she's in, though. I just love Jennifer Coolidge. She can do no wrong in my mind.
She can do no wrong. Have you seen her commencement speech that she gave recently?
No.
I only caught clips of it, but I was like, I do not know what this woman is saying, but I support her 100%.
Oh, I'll have to look it up after this.
I don't know if she really has the personality of all of her characters, but it really feels like she does. I don't know if she's putting on a character, but it just makes me love her. It's so endearing.
I just assume that she is that person because I feel like that's who she is in every movie.
Yeah.
And that could be so off base. Like she could be the most like buttoned up introverted person ever, but I just can't picture her any other way.
No, me neither. So we've talked about Jennifer Coolidge before in our episodes on Legally Blonde and A Cinderella Story. Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize she was in A Cinderella Story with Regina King. Duh. That's cool. She's also in White Lotus, American Pie, Promising Young Woman, and so many more. She studied at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York, and she aspired to be a dramatic actress like Meryl Streep.
Okay. Let me just say, they're both so talented. So I'm not like laughing in a like, haha, hilarious. She could never be dramatic because she could be, but like, how could she have ever been on any other path other than this like perfect comedic path that she is on, you know?
I feel like she kind of fell into the comedic route and then it just worked out for her.
Mm-hmm. She stuck with it. Good for her.
I couldn't imagine her in anything that's not comedic, though.
Mm-hmm.
Has she? Well, Promising Young Woman, but I feel like her character was a little bit comedic, if I remember correctly. I don't remember. So related to this movie, she's an animal rights activist, and she was crowned PETA's Vegan Queen of 2023.
Wow, she is a vegan queen.
I had no idea.
I didn't either, but I love that.
It tracks for me with her personality, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And she's also very vocal about her support for the LGBTQ plus community, and she's considered a modern-day gay icon for many in the community.
I love that.
I've seen so many headlines that are like, Jennifer Coolidge, gay icon.
Yeah. Then we have Luke Wilson, who plays Emmett.
We've also talked about him before in the Legally Blonde episode, of course. He's Owen Wilson's brother. And in this movie, for some reason, I could only hear Owen Wilson every time he talked.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I think because early in the movie, he does some like weird impression or something. He like tries to do a voice. And I thought the same thing when he was doing that. He sounded so much like Owen Wilson doing impressions that I could totally see why you thought that.
Yeah. Does anybody ever think you and your sisters sound the same?
Yes, we get that comment a lot, especially my youngest sister and I.
Okay, so you have some of the same mannerisms and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Because I would say me and my siblings are pretty different. Like maybe my brother has some similarities to me, but he's a boy, so it's different.
Yeah, you get compared the same.
Interesting, though. They also have a brother named Andrew, and they're all friends with Wes Anderson. All three appeared in his directorial debut, Bottle Rocket, in 1996. And Owen and Wes were college roommates, so that's how they all became friends.
Wow.
And Luke Wilson has been in other Wes Anderson movies, The Royal Tenenbaums, and Rushmore. He's been in a lot of other stuff, but I feel like Legally Blonde is the most notable for our audience.
Mm-hmm.
And he just had a new movie come out. It's like a Western movie called Horizon. And so he's on a press tour right now. And of course, they're asking him about Legally Blonde.
I didn't know he was in Horizon. Suddenly, my TV is flooded with previews for this movie for some reason.
Really?
And it stars Kevin Costner. And I don't know if you watch Yellowstone, but I watch Yellowstone. And he is a cowboy in that. And Kevin Costner is also a cowboy in this movie. So it's just like funny to see him do the exact same character in this movie preview. So that's why it has stuck out. But I've been getting a ton of previews for it. So that's cool that Luke Wilson is in it.
Your algorithm knows you're a Yellowstone fan. So that's why
so.
you've been getting the previews. That's cool. Yeah. So there you go. Your worlds have collided. So everyone keeps asking him about Legally Blonde 3 during the tour. And he says he talked to Reese and the cast a few years ago and everyone was up for doing it. But he said Reese probably wants it to be right and she's really busy, which is fair. She's got a lot of stuff going on. And he said he just heard about the prequel and he says that he'd be up for playing Emmett's dad or something.
Ugh, this is devastating. Because using context clues, this makes me think Legally Blonde has gone nowhere and probably won't, or at least won't for some time.
A while. It's not prioritized for sure.
Ugh, that's tragic.
Or they're struggling with the script or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. It could just not be at those phases yet. But his comment about the prequel is interesting because without the other stuff, I would think, oh, this is that thing that actors do where they're like, I would love to do it. We'll see. When like secretly they've already signed a contract.
Like Chad Michael Murray saying he'd be up for Freaky Friday and then he's in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, maybe.
We shall see.
I imagine Emmett won't be in the prequel because it's pre-Harvard days.
True. Unless they have like different storylines going, which would be kind of confusing.
Yeah, but maybe that would be cool. I don't know. And did you know that Luke Wilson dated Drew Barrymore?
No, I had no idea.
That's like his most famous relationship that he's been in. And as far as we know, he's never been married and has no children, but I did see a bunch of articles where he expressed wanting to start a family.
Okay, love that for him.
Yeah, I hope it happens for him.
Okay, and last but not least, we have the Bob Newhart who plays Sid, the doorman in this movie.
He's so cute. I love him.
I did not put together what he is from until watching it this time. And I was like, gosh, his voice sounds so familiar. And then I was like, it's Papa Elf.
That's what it is. Yeah, he's Papa Elf. So we have talked about him before briefly.
No, I don't think we talked about him.
That was the episode.
Yes, this was where my parents like got all over my case about it.
Well, I'm going to be honest, I didn't write anything else besides he's Papa Elf. So I guess we're not covering him now, but he's been in a ton of things. He's 94 years old.
Just so you guys know, when we did the Elf episode, which is like my family's #1 Christmas movie that we watch every year, we didn't talk about Bob Newhart. I think we maybe mentioned that he played Papa Elf in passing, but we didn't talk about him. And when I went home for Christmas, my parents were like, Megan, you missed one of the biggest stars of the movie. He's so famous. He's been in so many things. And I was like, sorry, he is old.
You're like, I don't know what else he's been in.
I didn't know him from anything else, as evidenced by in this episode as well. We will only be referring to him as Papa Elf.
You know, I looked at his IMDb and it's a lot of stuff, but not stuff that I've seen. So,
He is 94 years old.
yeah, wild. We love him. We love him as Papa Elf and we love him as Sid.
Love.
He was a good addition to this movie, actually. I think as far as new characters go, he was my favorite.
Yep, me too.
Well, with that being said, should we get into the movie?
Let's do it. So the movie opens to this close-up of a pink scrapbook, and we get this sort of flip through of photos of Elle growing up and just like phases through her life. So we see a photo of her as a kid with Versace bags. And we can hear her friends, like her present day friends, in the background. They're the ones that are flipping through the pages. And they're saying that Elle's nanny used to take her to Baby Gap, but she would just cry and cry. And then we see that Elle was also on the cover of 17. Her friend Margot says that she had so much potential and she could have been a playmate by now. But then her other friend Serena says, hello, she's a lawyer. That's way better. And Margot goes, why? Those are her two friends from college, by the way. You guys will remember them. We also see a photo of Alan Warner, her ex-boyfriend from the first movie. And they are the homecoming king and queen in the photo. And his face is crossed out. He has like one of those red circles with an X through it. And then we hear Paulette, Jennifer Coolidge, say, what a slime dog.
I love her. I love every line that comes out of her mouth.
I know, me too. And then we hear Paulette tell Margot and Serena thanks for making the scrapbook for Elle's wedding shower. And Paulette says, I can't scrapbook worth a damn. And then we also see a photo of Elle doing the bend and snap. And Paulette says, I did it last night naked. I busted a window. And then there's a photo of Elle with Congresswoman Rudd, Sally Field. And we find out that they started the Harvard Alumni Women's event together. And then we find out that she's marrying Emmett. So yay.
Yay.
This is kind of meant to, I think, catch us up on everything that has happened since the last movie.
Yeah, which I don't know if we needed, but I did like it.
Yeah.
And then all of the girls turn the lights out and surprise Elle with her wedding shower. And later they're sitting at a table and Paulette asks to see Elle's ring again. And she holds out her hand and she has this pink triangle ring with an N on it. And they say, not your Delta Nu ring, Elle. And then we see her pink engagement ring, which of course it would be pink.
Of course.
They also give Elle a snow globe from Emmett of the two of them getting married at Fenway Park, which is the Red Sox stadium. And that's Emmett's favorite place in the world.
And then we cut to Emmett and we see him teaching at Harvard Law School. And his phone rings in the middle of class and it's playing the bridal march, which we figure out that Elle customized without him knowing as her ringtone. On the phone, Elle tells him that she pulled some strings and they're going to get married at Fenway. And so he immediately puts the phone down and tells his class and everybody starts screaming and chanting and cheering. It's very cute. And then Elle says she wants everyone who matters to them to be there and her dog Bruiser starts barking and she realizes she's forgetting something.
So we cut to Elle and Bruiser at a private investigator's office where she asks for a biological birth parent search to find Bruiser's mom because she wants to invite her to the wedding. And this is where I went, oh, that's what this movie is about.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It is a really interesting, like, jumping off point.
I don't hate it, but I am also like, what a weird plot.
Yeah, it's really weird. I agree. Then we find out that Elle is up for promotion at her office today, and everyone thinks that she's going to get it. And she even has congratulations balloons already in her office when she walks in the morning. But then the PI shows up and has already found Bruiser's mom.
So Elle takes Bruiser to meet his mom at what she thinks is the top secret Versace think tank. And the security guard, who's played by Octavia Spencer, what a wild cameo I wasn't expecting, tells her that she's got the wrong Versace. And Bruiser takes off running up the stairs and down the hall, and Elle chases after him. And Bruiser leads Elle to a lab where we see Bruiser's mom in a machine surrounded by scientists. It's very scary. And Elle tries to negotiate to buy Bruiser's mom, but a scientist tells her that the dogs are not for sale.
So sad. Back at the office, Elle is talking about her experience, and her coworker tells her that this Versace is a cosmetic testing facility, and Bruiser's mom is a test subject there. Then Elle says, I'm going to bust all those dogs out of that doggy dungeon. And then Elle and her coworker find out that this Versace lab is owned by the Saint Magnifique Corporation, which is already represented by Elle's law firm. So she actually thinks this is great news because she's like, great, they're our client. We can tell them to let all the dogs go. Perfect.
So she makes a presentation to the law partners, and she starts with Bruiser Woods, Chihuahua, Who am I? Where do I come from?
That's exactly how she said it, too. It was perfect.
And the partners all look at her like she's crazy, and they tell her this is a law firm, not an animal rights advocacy group. And she says, we're lawyers. We have to fight for justice. But they say they fight for their clients and their best interests. And someone says, I think you're confusing the right thing and the law. You didn't think they were the same, did you? And Elle says, what you're saying is, if C'est Magnifique follows the letter of the law, even if it ends up hurting living beings, we're just doing our job? I'm sorry, I don't think I can work with people who believe that. And her boss says, she's right, and fires her. And he says, we only have room for serious lawyers here. So it almost feels like a regression, because that was the problem at Harvard that she faced in the first movie, was not being taken seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're kind of back at square one.
But I think this is just part of her, who she is, you know? I think it's just realistic that, like, if you are this way, if you are like a bubbly, sparkly, blonde woman in the modern world, you are going to have a tough time getting people to take you seriously.
Every place you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately. So then back at home, Elle is crying in the bathroom that night, and she's wearing this fluffy pink robe, and Emmett is trying to get her to come out. And he tells her the first time he saw her, he thought, that woman is really special. She believes she can make a difference, and she will. And then he can't get her to come out of the bathroom, but then he's like, we can go over some wedding details. And she's like, She's like, it's a callback to the first movie when Warner is driving in the car. I think he says that she's going to break a heel or something if she doesn't get in the car. And she's like, Then she gets in the car anyway.
Also, why is her crying in the bathroom such an aesthetic scene? Like, it's such a vibe. I loved it.
Everything is pink and purple and fluffy. I love it.
It's so cute. Then we see Elle trying on a wedding dress at a dress shop, and the tailor tells her she can't do what she wants to the dress because the material is too delicate. And Paulette suggests that she doesn't fight the fabric, but change it, and suggests using a classy fabric like white leather. And this gives Elle an idea that she shouldn't be fighting the law, she should be changing it. So she tells everyone she's going to make animal testing illegal. Elle says, it's like you don't even know how horrible something is until it happens to you personally. And Paulette goes, like breastfeeding. And Elle says, ladies, I'm going to Washington.
I just love the conviction of Elle Woods in the first movie and in this one. Like, for her to stand up to all these lawyers and say, like, I don't think I can work with people like you, and have them be like, okay, and then have her just, like, figure it out is just, I just admire her.
What, like it's hard? That's her motto.
Yeah. So then Elle gets ready to leave for DC, and she's wearing an American flag scarf tied around her neck and these, like, big sunglasses. And this is the iconic line of the movie that made us want to do the movie this week. Paulette says, oh my God, you look like the 4th of July. Makes me want a hot dog real bad.
Incredible.
Which I have been served so many ads for t-shirts with this quote on it this week that I have almost bought.
That's so funny. That would be a cute 4th of July outfit.
Yeah.
Then Paulette shows Elle Congresswoman Rudd on the cover of Animal Fair magazine holding a beagle, and she says Elle's new boss is the best groomed woman in Washington, which will come back later. Paulette asks her if changing the law and planning the wedding of the century is hard, and Elle says, Paulette, I taught Bruiser how to shop online. I think I can handle Congress. And she drives away in her blue convertible.
So then Elle gets to her apartment in DC, and when she wakes up the next day, she says, time to legislate. It's giving when she, like, wakes up for her first day of class at Harvard. It's very cute.
Yeah.
And then we see her walking among a bunch of people, mostly men, that are in black suits, and they're outside the Capitol building, while she's in bright pink, and she has Bruiser in her purse. This is the iconic pink suit outfit that you guys will remember.
Yeah, I've seen this one so many times, even though I haven't seen the movie. And so I used to think this outfit was in the first movie until we rewatched it. Then Elle enters Congresswoman Rudd's office saying, hello, Patriots. Which, like, if somebody did that in my office, I think I would give them an odd look. So I understand that the staff is kind of put off by this.
Yeah.
And Timothy, a guy on Rudd's staff, calls her Capital Barbie. And then another member of staff, Grace, played by Regina King, calls her sweetie and tells her intern orientation is down the hall. And she's really patronizing when she says it. And then Congresswoman Rudd comes in and hugs Elle and kisses Bruiser and tells everyone that Elle is basically her when she first came to DC. And Grace is shocked by this.
You can tell they have not seen this side of Congresswoman Rudd.
Yeah.
So then Elle gets a desk in the corner of the room and she fully decks it out in pink. There's like ribbon everywhere, there's tulle. And then Elle overhears Timothy, Grace, and another staff member, Rena, arguing. And then she starts singing a song with a bedazzled cup that she calls the Snap Cup. She tells them to put compliments for each other in the Snap Cup, and then one at a time they'll take them out and read them out loud, and that will help everyone move past the conflict. And then, as she's like pulling little pieces of paper out of the cup, she reads one that says, "What do Elle Woods and the Snap Cup have in common? They're both stupid."
Sad.
So mean.
Then Elle and Grace go to a committee meeting, and Elle gets told again where intern orientation is by someone. And at the beginning of the meeting, Grace stands up and says Elle would love the floor, which is giving Vivian from the first movie.
Definitely.
Elle immediately starts talking about animal testing, and Chairwoman Hauser tells her that she's out of order and to not attend any other meetings that Hauser presides over. So not a good first start.
Elle has a bad first day. So when she gets back to her apartment, she like looks very disheveled and you can tell she's upset. And the doorman, this is Sid, played by Bob Newhart, says that she has a package. And she says that it contains her perfect wedding shoes, but that it doesn't matter because she won't be making the date for Emmett's fantasy baseball wedding because she doesn't have a chance at stopping animal testing. But then she tries on the shoes and they're bedazzled with these like pink jewels. She's like walking around the lobby and they're very pretty, but you can tell she's very sad.
Then Elle introduces herself to Sid, and she says she has to work out a plan of attack with the Committee of N and Ron or whatever. And he says COM. It's called the Committee of Energy and Commerce. And she thanks him.
He's like the only person that's been remotely helpful to her all day.
Right.
So then back at Congresswoman Rudd's office, Rena is upset that she can't get a bill drafted on her grandma's anti-itch cream. And Elle suggests that Rena write the bill herself, but then Grace says that it's against protocol. So you can tell, like, the undertone of Elle versus the rest of the office so far has been very, like, the old way or, like, traditional way versus Elle Woods coming in and wanting to do things her way. And that is a theme throughout.
Mm-hmm. Then we're in the park, and a man is walking a Rottweiler and telling a man he won't reward his idleness by giving him money. And Elle slides some money into the man's stuff, and she's like, people here have no common courtesy. And then on a bench, Sid, the doorman, says that if she wants to get a hearing for her bill, she needs to get Congresswoman Hauser, the lady presiding over the N and Com meeting. And Hauser needs a political makeover, he says, something warm and fuzzy to get her name on. He says she responds best to facts and figures, and that he's been on the forefront of all political scandals while working at the apartment building for the past 30 years. He says after Hauser, she needs the Alabama Republican Congressman Marks. And then Elle tells Sid he's the most useful person that she's met in Washington.
Besties. Then Elle starts researching and studying up, with her pink feather pen, of course. And somehow she also finds time to plan her wedding. Then we see her and Sydney drafting up Bruiser's bill, and he quizzes her on all the congresspeople that she'll have to get to know.
Elle tries, but no one will take a look at her bill. And Grace tells Elle she's seen thousands of idealistic girls just like Elle who go home empty-handed with blisters on their feet. Elle says, I came here to give my dog a voice, and I forgot my own. You can do it the Washington way, but I'm going to do it the Elle Woods way.
So then Elle does what she's good at, and she gets Paulette to find the exact salon where Hauser dyes her hair. While she's on the phone with Paulette, we see Paulette's daughter sitting by her with a little UPS outfit on, which is a nod to Paulette's husband, the UPS man, which I thought was very cute.
Very cute. I love that they're just hinting at Paulette's life and how her life turned out, but we don't get an explicit, like, story of anything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then Elle shows up at Hauser's salon and tries to talk to her about animal testing, and Hauser is annoyed, which fair, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And then Elle notices Hauser's Delta Nu ring and asks her when was the last time she wore the yellow tea rose. And this immediately changes everything. Hauser immediately softens, and they talk about their initiation into Delta Nu, and they do this secret handshake in the middle of the salon. And then Elle sits down with Hauser and backs up her stuff with stats, and she now officially has Hauser on board.
All I could think when this was happening is that if this would never happen for me. Like, if somebody that already didn't really like me found out that we were in the same sorority, it would not matter at all.
No, not at all. And you're not going to talk about your initiation in front of the entire salon.
Right. It's secret.
It's secret. In quotes.
In quotes.
I feel like after college, nobody cares about their sorority anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there's a certain type of person who does still care about their sorority because they're still involved in alumni events or whatever.
No, it would need to be such a specific type of person for this to be true, like for this to actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the personification of like the sorority being so important still.
It's fun.
It like makes it fun, yeah.
And she's wearing her ring, so obviously she does care, you know?
Mm-hmm. True. Then we see the man with the Rottweiler again, and Elle hands him a poop bag for his dog when no one else will. And Elle has no idea who this is. But then Bruiser and the Rottweiler lock eyes and love music starts playing.
I have to read you what I put in my notes app when this scene came on.
Oh, good.
Bruiser falling in love with a Rottweiler was not on my bingo card. But just wait, past Jenny.
It gets crazier from here.
There's more.
Yeah.
While shopping for wedding flowers with Sid, Elle gets a page from the doggy day spa that Bruiser is at. Both she and the Rottweiler's owner run into the spa asking what the emergency was. And the woman at the front desk says that their two dogs have been humping each other. And they find out that each other's dogs are both boys, and the woman says, "Your dogs are gay."
I have so many thoughts about this plot point.
All right, tell me.
I think it's cute. Like, I love that there's like a doggy love story in the movie. Love. Adorable. Love it.
Yes.
They do this thing, and you guys will see this in just a second, where it feels almost like they're trying to make a joke out of like finding out that like your kids are gay with some of the things that especially the Rottweiler's owner says in a second that we're going to talk about. And that feels weird to me. I just feel like this is not like a thing that would be made to be a joke today, but I do think it's cute. And I love that Bruiser has this like little love story subplot. I think that's kind of cute and funny.
Completely agree. It just was not the subplot that I was expecting in this movie. And I do think that it's treated with kind of a silliness that makes the movie feel more silly. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, especially people's responses to it later. And also, what a weird scenario. Just like, why does the doggy day spa care? Why are they like, hey, your dogs are gay?
Mm-hmm. I think that's why I feel silly, because it's like dogs hump things, and like your doggy daycare would never call you for that unless like something traumatic happened. And then like the front desk person makes it a huge announcement to them. Like she needs to sit them down to tell them this. So then Elle and the Rottweiler owner sit outside after they find this out, watching their dogs together. And he says, "You just want what's best for them." And then he says, "Why me? Why my dog?" And then he introduces himself as Stanford Marks, and Elle realizes that he is the conservative Alabama congressman that she needs on her side for the bill. So I feel like they're trying to make this like, and we'll talk about this at the end too, like they're trying to make this a journey for him, I think, for this like conservative Alabama congressman to like come to love his gay son as a dog, which I just don't think is like a plot point that we really need. However, like I said, I love that there's a like love story for Bruiser, and I love that it's Bruiser and this Rottweiler.
It's cute. It's cute. But like I said, it was not on my bingo card. I was like, what is this movie now? I'm so confused.
Yeah.
There's a Letterboxd review that says, there's a 5-minute scene where a man has a crisis about his dog being gay. And I feel like that's accurate.
Yeah.
There's this other review that says, when I started tagging films with LGBTQ rep, it honestly didn't occur to me that someday I'd be stumped by the Legally Blonde sequel featuring a gay dog subplot. They're like, do I tag this as representation or not?
I love these reviews. But yes, this is what makes it weird, is because like all of the humans like make it into the biggest deal and like this crisis, which is just weird.
It's very 2003 of them, I feel like.
Yeah.
Then back at Rudd's office, Grace is celebrating that she got a meeting with Congressman Marks, the owner of the Rottweiler, in 4 weeks. And she tries to get people to bet on Elle's departure, but Rena refuses. And we can tell Rena, this is the one with the grandma anti-itch cream bill, we can tell that she really likes Elle.
Mm-hmm.
And then Elle comes in and has Rena read her calendar out loud for a week from tomorrow. And Rena announces, 11 o'clock Commerce Committee hearing. And Grace says, nice try, but you need a bill before you have a hearing. And Elle says, like this one? And shows her pink Bruiser's bill. And she says, is bill writing super fun or what? She's so cute.
Congresswoman Rudd comes out of her office and congratulates Elle. And Elle says that it was actually a group effort and the entire team helped her, even though we know that they didn't. And you can tell this makes some of the staff, like Timothy, really appreciative towards Elle and like the favor that she's essentially doing in this moment with them and the Congresswoman.
The first committee meeting doesn't go super well, and a lot of Congress people are opposed to the bill. Congresswoman Rudd tells Elle to relax and says tomorrow will go better. And then Sid gives Elle a bunch of paperwork that she says is exactly what she needs for tomorrow. So we'll find out what that is.
Then we see Congresswoman Rudd get a phone call, and it's like very mysterious, and she says she'll do what she can. And then we see her tell someone else that she's changed her position on Bruiser's bill.
That night, Emmett and Elle watch Mr. Smith Goes to Washington long distance over the phone. What is another movie where they did long distance watching of stuff? Do you remember? We covered something recently, I feel like.
Oh, When Harry Met Sally?
Yes, When Harry Met Sally. Yes, that's it. That's what it was giving to me.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Then the next day at the committee meeting, Elle knows the exact brand and shade of a lipstick that a congresswoman is wearing, and she tells her that she owes the bounce in her step to Bruiser and animal testing. She also knows the childhood dog of another congressman presiding over the meeting, and then she also appeals to Chairman Marks's love for his Rottweiler and asks what he'd say if he could speak for his dog. And all of this is Elle, like, going one by one down the line of the congresspeople on the committee, trying to appeal to, like, their sense of just empathy, I guess, by knowing personal things about them. So I thought this was a really good idea. But then after being hesitant to say anything, Stan Marks just, like, something breaks in him, you can tell. And he just says, "My name is Stan Marks. I'm a conservative Republican NRA spokesman, and my dog is gay." And then everyone gets up and cheers and chants for Bruiser's bill, which, like... I have the same opinion as before. They're doing a thing where they're trying to relate it to, like, somebody's kid being gay, like with his comments earlier, like when he was like, "Why my dog? Why God?" And him being this, like, Republican NRA spokesman. I think that's, like, what they're trying to do, which I think at the time probably would have been funny, but with today's political climate, wouldn't be funny. And, like, it would never get made today. So I think it just feels kind of weird.
It does feel weird. Yeah, and then he says some stuff that's just like, oh, that doesn't need to be repeated ever. So,
yeah.
Anyway, then Congresswoman Rudd interrupts the meeting and says after further reflection on the budget, she must withdraw her support for Bruiser's bill, which is such a blow because everything was going really well. And then later, Rudd apologizes to Elle and says she was outmaneuvered by Grace, who's been pushing a homeowner's incentive bill and struck a deal to make that come to a vote.
So Elle feels very defeated, and she goes to the Lincoln Memorial, and she says to Lincoln's statue, "Were you even honest?" And she asks how he even trusted the country and the system. And then Rudd's staff members, led by Timothy and Rena, appear holding the snap cup, and she reads the compliments they'd left for her in the cup, like the one about her lateral delts, where they all say, "Snaps for Elle's lateral delts." And then she reads one that says, "Elle Woods inspires us." And they tell her they're going to help her with the petition to discharge Bruiser's bill so she can finish what she started.
It's very sweet. I liked that moment.
Yeah.
Then Rudd walks into her office barking orders, but only Grace is there, and Grace tells her that the other staff quit without notice.
And then Marks and Hauser, these are the two committee members that Elle has become friends with, the Rottweiler owner and then the other Delta Nu. They go to present the discharge petition, which is pink and scented. And Marks says that the pink and scentedness gives a little something extra, don't you think? Which is obviously a callback to Elle's resume in the first movie. But then nobody in Congress gets up to sign it.
So Elle and the team plan how they're going to get the other 216 signatures they need, and says she called in for reinforcements. Timothy says he hopes they're the brightest political minds in the country, but we see that her reinforcements are her best friends, Margot and Serena. And they all scream when they see each other. It's very cute. And then we see that the last member of their team is here. Paulette is in the lobby.
So this big team all splits up to go get congresspeople to support the bill. Paulette offers free haircuts, and we see all the congresswomen signing the petition with these, like, funky, fun new hairdos.
I loved that, actually.
Me too.
Then Serena and Margot get sent to intern orientation. I think they're like, why do we keep getting sent to intern orientation?
Yeah.
And then they get an idea, and they gather the interns to perform a cheer routine to That's My Name by Bow Wow. And the congresspeople love it.
Then Timothy sees Rena's new haircut from Paulette, and he is speechless. And, like, the love music starts playing in the background. And he tells her she looks amazing, but then he says he has bad news. They lost someone on the petition that Elle had just talked to this morning, Hannenfeld.
So then Elle goes looking for Grace to ask her if she has something to do with them losing Hannenfeld. Congresswoman Rudd stops her and tells her she pulled some strings and Elle can collect Bruiser's mom anytime she wants, and that C'est Magnifique is releasing all test animals, and they want Elle to come on board as head of their legal department. So this is a really big opportunity. She can go home, and then she gets what she wanted in the first place, which is Bruiser's mom to be freed. And I feel like we've talked about this in our screenwriting classes before, but it's always like the want that the character has at the beginning. You want them to have a new want by the end. And so even when they can achieve that old want, they've grown as a person and they want something bigger now. And I feel like this movie did a good job of that.
Definitely.
Before Elle leaves, she asks if Rudd knows who Hannenfeld had lunch with today. And Rudd says that she wasn't at lunch because she got a facial.
Suspicious. Then Elle calls Emmett and leaves a voicemail that she's heading home, but we can tell she doesn't feel fully excited about this opportunity and excited about leaving before her job is done. And then she sees Grace and tells her that she knows Grace has been working against her on Bruiser's bill. And Grace says she has her own agenda, and Elle asks if it's for the homeowner's bill that she's been pushing for the last 2 sessions, which is what Rudd told Elle that Grace has been doing. And Grace is like, no, I would never touch the homeowner's bill because it's a tax break for the wealthy. And then she tells her that she doesn't have time for this because Rudd is getting ready for an interview and is in makeup.
So Elle marches in while Rudd is in makeup and says she called her facialist and Rudd didn't come in today. And she says, everyone knows a good facial can be a painful experience if done properly. Isn't it the first rule of facials? There's a 24-hour window between a facial and any major occasion. I don't think that's a rule that the most well-groomed woman in Washington would easily forget. It's very much like the first movie with the perm. Elle confronts Rudd for lobbying against Bruiser's bill this whole time and for lying. And Elle asks about her beagle, and we find out that Rudd isn't an animal lover, and that's not her beagle that was on the cover of that animal magazine. She says that her main financial contributor has shares in a cosmetic company that wants to continue testing on animals, and they said that they'd bankroll her opponent if she didn't kill the bill. Elle tells her she doesn't believe in blackmail, but she does believe in the people, and she's going to take Bruiser's bill to them. And Grace overhears all of this. She hears the whole confession from Rudd.
So then Elle mobilizes Margot and Serena to call Delta News head chapter. And the Delta New president answers, and Elle says she's calling to activate phone tree 255. Then we see all of these sorority sisters from all over the country calling other girls for an emergency in Washington.
And then we see what I think the little subtitle thing says is Invasion of the Delta News. And they all hop off buses and stop traffic with their dogs and with signs. And Emmett surprises Elle and says he's there to do wedding research, and he's bringing the wedding to her in D.C. instead of Fenway Park. He doesn't care where they get married as long as they get married. For me, I was like, then why was this Fenway Park thing a thing this whole time?
I think because Elle did it for him, but also this is the stupid reality part of me that's just guys, you plan a wedding a year in advance. This whole, you're busy right now for the next few months in DC, so let's just get married here is very sweet and romantic, and I love that. But the scale of wedding that I assume they're talking about would require them to invite people and have a venue, whatever. You know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. It didn't make sense to me, but it's fine.
It's very romantic and sweet, though. I did like it.
Yeah, all logic out the window. It's sweet. And then all the Delta News put on a dog march on Washington, and Grace watches from the window.
And we see that the march is getting a lot of press, and they actually only need 15 more signatures on the petition. And then Grace calls and says that Elle needs to pull something extraordinary off in order to get those last 15. And she says, look, Elle, you may be above blackmail, but I'm not. And we see that Congresswoman Rudd is behind her, and Grace is holding the tape that has all of the confession from Congresswoman Rudd on it.
I love Grace. She's the best.
Me too.
Then we cut to Grace and Elle together, and Grace tells Elle that once upon a time she loved politics, and she wants to do something good. She says she was once one of those silly girls with blisters on her feet that she told Elle about, and that's why she's helping her.
And then we jump to the Congress floor, and Congresswoman Rudd shares the floor with Elle. And you can tell she's doing this because she's being forced. And you can see Grace threatening her from the audience. And then Elle gives a speech very similar to the graduation speech that she gave in the first Legally Blonde movie. But instead of talking about Bruiser's bill, she talks about the education that everyone has given her over the past 3 months that she's been in DC. She also talks about her hair salon in Beverly Hills and how they gave her the wrong haircut. and she sat there and witnessed the injustice of them doing the wrong thing, but she didn't use her voice at the time. She says, one honest voice can be louder than a crowd. And then she says, if we lose our voice, or we let those who speak on our behalf compromise our voice, then this country is in for a really bad haircut. And everybody laughs and cheers.
Paulette, Sid, Timothy, and Rena watch all of this on TV, and Rena says, everyone, I think it's time I spoke up. I think Timothy is smoking, and she tackles him to the ground. And then Paulette and Sid are left kind of looking at each other, and Paulette goes, I'm married.
And he just like shrugs. So then as everyone is celebrating in Congress, we get the little text subtitles that we got in the first movie that tells us what happens next. We find out that Rudd was the 218th signature on the petition. We find out that the test animals were released and a scientist takes Bruiser's mom to reunite with Elle, Emmett, and Bruiser. We see Paulette in the exact same 4th of July outfit that Elle was wearing at the beginning of the movie, and her husband, the UPS guy, shows up and gives her a hot dog. And the text says, Paulette finally got her hot dog.
Yay. That made me happy.
The best payoff of the whole movie.
Agree.
Then we see that her husband, the UPS man, also delivered Fenway Park's home plate to DC, and that is where Emmett and Elle said, I do. And we see Elle get married in a pink dress, of course, and we learn that Sid finally has his own dog to walk, Bruiser's mom.
Yay. And then we see Congresswoman Rudd leading Congress in a snap cup session, reading all the compliments and stuff. It's very cute.
And then Rena catches the bouquet at Elle and Emmett's wedding, and the text underneath tells us that she's proposing to Timothy tonight.
And isn't that what it says at the graduation speech part in Legally Blonde, the first one?
Yeah, you guys will remember it says, Emmett is proposing to Elle, period, and then a second later, a second line of text comes up that says, tonight. They do the same thing with this.
Yes. Good callback. And then we also see Bruiser and the Rottweiler together. They're going to live happily ever after, which is cute. And Emmett and Elle drive off together, and he asks where she wants to live, which again, I'm confused. He's like, now that we're married, where should we live?
Like, bro, you're a professor.
A Harvard law professor.
Yeah.
And she looks at the White House while they're driving, and she winks at the camera. And that's the end.
Yay.
That was a goofy movie, but it was fun.
Mm-hmm. It's very cute.
So we were talking about the prequel a little bit earlier, but I had no idea that this is not the first time that Legally Blonde has become a TV show. There was a TV pilot that was made for ABC, and it starred Jennifer Hall instead of Reese Witherspoon, but it was never sold.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. And then there's Legally Blondes, the one with the twins. Have you seen that one?
No, but I remember when it was coming out, because I remember like all the posters and stuff for it.
Me too, and I know the twins were on Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, so I recognize them from that. But let's get into the Legally Blonde prequel series, because that's what we've been waiting for. As we mentioned, it'll be produced by Reese's company, Hello Sunshine, for Amazon MGM Studios, so that means that it will be on Prime Video for streaming.
Love it.
And it looks like the name of the prequel will be Elle, and it takes place before Elle gets into Harvard Law, when she's still in high school. I love this. On Instagram, Reese said, before she became the most famous Gemini vegetarian to graduate from Harvard Law, she was just a regular 90s high school girl. And all of you are going to get to know her. Super cute.
So cute.
Laura Kittrell, who's worked on Insecure, Black Monday, and High School, will be the executive producer and showrunner of this prequel. And Josh Schwartz and Stephanie Savage will be writers and executive producers as well. And they're the duo behind Gossip Girl, the Gossip Girl reboot, the OC, and the CW's Nancy Drew. So I feel like they'll be good when it comes to the high school vibes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have experience doing high school shows, so that's cool.
Yeah. And then there's talk about not one, but 2 prequel series for Legally Blonde. So we keep talking about just this one prequel and the Legally Blonde 3 movie, but no. Amazon is considering a second prequel as well. I have no idea what that would even be about. Some kind of spin-off. And I guess the reason why they are considering multiple prequels is that Amazon is looking to develop new projects from its newly owned IPs. And it's got Legally Blonde and Pink Panther. So I think that's what sparked the idea for a prequel series in the first place.
I wonder if they would do a spin-off with like Paulette or Emmett or something.
That would be great. Oh, I would love that.
I could see that.
With Jennifer Coolidge still, I guarantee you they would want to hire her for a prequel.
For sure.
And she won't be in the high school one, probably.
Right. I bet she'll cameo, though, which will be fun.
I would love some cameos. And it looks like they're still casting for the show, and it probably won't come out until at least 2025, so we have some time.
I'm excited. I just hope that this means that it's fully in the works and it's actually coming. And I'm curious to see what the vibe is going to be of the show. Like, hearing that it's being done by the people behind Gossip Girl, I think I've seen a couple episodes of Gossip Girl ever, so like I'm not an expert on that vibe, but I feel like the vibe of that feels different to the vibe of the movie, or like the aesthetics, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
Like, there's something a little like shiny and lighthearted about the Legally Blonde movies, so I hope that that's carried through to the TV show.
Me too. Do you have any hopes and dreams or ideas for the prequel? What would you like to see?
Something that I would love to see as Elle's arc, like I would love to see where she gets her audacity or like confidence. Part of me is like it's such an innate part of her personality that I just assume that it will be there even when she's in high school, but I also think it would be really cool to have that be like her growth and like story throughout, like her finding herself. So I like the idea if they took that approach. I also kind of hope we see her friends, her two best friends. I kind of hope that those are actual high school friends and not college friends, because I feel like we never really get to know them and they just seem kind of superficial and like there for a couple jokes in each movie, but not for like deep friendship. Like I think we see a much deeper friendship with Paulette, but I would love to see her friends and her interact as teens.
I love your idea of having Elle's character arc be a focus here, because I think Elle is already really inspiring for a lot of people, but I can imagine that what would be really inspiring is for a lot of people who feel insecure to watch her grow into herself and into a confident person.
Like how we see in this movie when she does the first snap cup and somebody calls her stupid and you can tell it bugs her, but she really just kind of like lets it roll off her back and keeps going. I'm like, I would love to see an Elle where like you can tell that actually really hurts her and see her kind of come back from it. So I think that would be fun.
That's cute. I like that idea. And I like the idea to have her friends in it more too.
Yeah. How about you? What do you want to see in the prequel?
I hope that we get some more emotional storylines. So kind of like what you were saying with the characters, I hope we go deeper into the side characters, whoever they may be. And I would love more of Elle's home life.
Yeah.
Because we don't really know a lot about Elle personally.
No, like we know she grew up in Bel Air. If like the most that we saw was when she was talking to her parents about going to Harvard Law and they were like, don't be silly. And that was really all.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if they had some kind of debate team or something that she's advocating for. I don't know if it's as silly as no school uniforms or if it's something a little deeper than that. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's something that she's advocating for or trying for the first time, and we see that that's how she gets the skills and the confidence to get into law school.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm thinking of like Katie being on the Mathletes in Mean Girls.
Totally, like something that she is, like we get to see her excel at something and that like grows her confidence.
Right, and something that everyone's like, no, you're not meant for that. You're supposed to be a popular girl, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
I think there will be an origin story of the Bend and Snap.
Yes.
I would love
definitely.
that.
Definitely.
And do you remember how in our Legally Blonde episode we talked about how Legally Blonde was inspired by Clueless?
Yeah.
I'm remembering that scene where Cher is trying to flirt with Christian in class and she's sending herself flowers and she's doing all these little tricks. And I could see Elle doing the Bend and Snap as one of her little tricks.
Totally. Clueless, I think I didn't realize, but that's what I was imagining.
Absolutely.
In my brain for this show. Definitely.
100%. She is Cher. And then I'm curious what they're going to do about Warner, because in this movie, we see that they're homecoming queen and king.
Right. But was that for college? Even though college doesn't have homecoming?
Okay, maybe.
Because I feel like in the first movie, he said that Vivian was his girlfriend from prep school, which I feel like would have been prep school equals high school, ?
Okay. I hope so, because I don't want him in the movie, or if he is in the movie, I don't want them to be together, or in the show.
Yeah, but I do want Elle to have a different love interest. I want to see her with a boy at like 16. I want to see her navigate that because I just feel like it would be really funny.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, she'll be doing the Bend and Snap, but not for Warner. And then I feel like there's always a mean girl that Elle ends up winning over with her kindness, so I could see that being in this prequel as well. And I 100% think that Reese is going to cameo, and I hope other castmates cameo too.
Me too. I'm curious what like high school friend group, like where they will put Elle in the like social status. Because I feel like my assumption would be like she is class president or like homecoming queen, prom queen. But then I feel like stereotypically in high school shows and movies, that friend group tends to be like meaner people. Like that's like the quote mean girls or whatever, like the popular ones.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm curious how they're going to navigate that if that is her friend group.
Yeah, I have no idea how they're going to do it. And I don't want them to try and follow the same exact formula that has worked for the other movies. I kind of want them to do something new. So we'll see.
We'll see. I'm excited for it.
I'm excited too. Well, thank you guys so much for listening.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.